Hello everybody, it's Miss Betty and I'm back, and today I am cooking on Fawn Ridge. I got on my apron so that we don't have any bloopers. I don't have any buttons, so just like I promised, today we are going to do collard greens. These are my collard greens, and if you can tell, they look different than the turnip greens that we did on yesterday. So I have one, two, three, four, and I have 5 bunches of collards. And we're pretty much going to do our collard greens exactly like we did our turnip greens, except for the only difference is we are going to cut them up. Now, don't forget, Miss Betty said before you start your greens, you make sure that your sink is impeccably clean. Make sure that you are using a cleaner. I use the Lysol all-purpose lemon cleaner, and I clean my sink on the daily. But before you start your greens or anything that you are going to consume and you need to use your sink, make sure that your sink is clean. That's one of the things that worried me a little bit, because I was like, I really hope that these people started with a clean sink. But just in case you did not, you make sure that you clean your sink, okay? So what I'm going to do is, because I'm not live today, I'll be able to do this video in stages. So again, take our collard greens, just like our turnip greens, turn them to the back, fold them, and strip them. Making sure that this is the part that you throw away. Okay? And these collards are fairly nice too. Strip them. Let's see if I can find some nice ones. See this little extra stuff. These are like baby greens. So always, always take your greens off of the stem. All right, so I am stripping my collards. I'm going to just do a few of these. Then I will finish them and come back and show you how I cut up my greens. I used to not use a cutting board, but the older I get, the more that I find I need to kind of save my hands. Okay? So, take your collard green, just like we did the turnip greens, fold them in half and strip them. Now, collards are one of the greens that I find that most people do not strip. For some reason, they like to leave the stalks on there. Not this part of the stalk, but they like to leave this part of the stalk. When I was growing up, they taught us not to leave that piece and to strip it off. Remember, the closer you get to the top, you begin to see little, I want to say strings. You don't want to leave strings on your greens, okay? All right, I'm just going to do a few more. And then I'll go ahead and pop these out the way, come back and show you exactly how to cut up the collard greens. And we already know how to wash them because we had our washing lesson on yesterday. I already have my ham hock ready in the pot with a little onion for these greens, because these are my greens and I want ham hock on them. If you are interested and you want me to cook you a pan of greens, I will. For $45, I will go to the store, purchase your greens, bring them home, cook them, and put them in a half a pan for you for $45. That's a good deal, because it's not how much the greens cost, but it's the labor in the greens, because this takes a considerable amount of time for you to get a pot of greens ready. I cook a pot of greens every week, so for me to do that, it's a piece of cake, okay? All right, so I'm gonna go ahead as quick as I can and finish stripping these. I do have 4 bunches today. That's not a lot. And you're not able to ask me questions live today because I am not live. This is a recorded video today. But if you have any questions, you can certainly ask me in the comment section or you can go to my message box and you can send me a message. Or if you know me, you can call me because I like talking on the telephone. I like talking. As you can see, I can really talk to you while I do this video, but I don't want you to get bored. Now, I talked to a girl yesterday and she said, Miss Betty, I don't cut my collard greens up. She said, I take them and I strip them with my hand. That's a preference. Okay, I call that a preference. And we all know that when we cook, cooking is a preference. Damn it. I dropped my phone, y'all. Hold on. I'll be right back. All right. So I always say cooking is a preference. And when I say that, that means that you do it the way that you want to do it. Because that's your preference. Okay? I wish I could come up with a better way to record. Because I really love making the videos. They are so much fun. And I like doing them. All right, so let me go ahead and knock these greens out. And I'm going to get them ready to cut up. And when it is time to cut them up, I'll come back and start a new segment. All right? Hey, I came back on because these are some nice leaves. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? That's a nice collard leaf. I don't know if you can tell the difference between the collard greens and the turnip greens, but the turnip greens don't have the lines like the collards, okay? So, again, you take your collard green and you fold it in half and you strip it. I usually like to hold on to the stalk and just pull it off, see? And when you pull it off, that string comes right off with it. If you let that string fall in your greens, then remember you will have stringy greens. All right, so I have now stripped all my collards and they are ready. Now, if these was turnip greens, all I would have to do is wash them. And what I'm hearing from some people is they don't do the step that I'm getting ready to do. They don't cut up their greens. They said they just take them and tear them. I don't tear them. I take my greens and I take some leaves like this. I roll them together and I take my knife and I chop them. I used to do it without a cutting board, but my hands got bad, so I had to stop. So you just get you a handful of greens, just kind of roll them up together and cut them just like that. When I'm done doing this, I will wash them just like I did before, and I will put them in my pot that already have my ham hock already in it. I'll put this over because that's another, so I don't want to do that. Okay. I don't have as many greens as I did yesterday. This is a smaller bunch. I only have 4 bunches. And pretty much, you could probably take your hand and rip them because that's pretty much what I'm doing with the knife. It's just that I am just trying to save a few steps, okay? These greens were the leaves were a lot smaller. I don't have any stems on them. I only have the green part. And, of course, no strings. Remember, I don't care if you do turnip greens, mustard greens, kale greens, collard greens. I don't care what kind of green you do. You want to make sure that you take these stems off, okay? All right. So we'll get these done. Grab me another hand punch. Take your knife. Cut them up. Basically, I'm going to show you in a second what you want your greens to look like. All right. And you just want your greens to look like this. See? Just chopped up. Chopped collard greens. That's what we're going to call them. Chopped collard greens. These leaves were a lot smaller. Chop. 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 Watch your finger. Always keep your finger in front of your knife so that you don't cut your nail or your finger, okay? Take your greens, roll them up. You don't want to get too many leaves at one time because you don't want your leaves to be too big. If they were going to be big, then there would not be any reason to cut them up. All really do this every week. Can you believe I do this every week? Because I love cooking. And today the sun is not shining as pretty as it did yesterday in the Midwest, but it's still a blessed day. And I like cooking because I don't like just sitting around not doing anything. So I'm cutting up my greens. There we go. Watch my hands. See, I'm quick because I've done it so much, so I can get my fingers right out of there. It don't take me that long. I just grab me some leaves, roll them up like this, fold them in half, put them on my cutting board like that, and chop them. See, I'm starting to get a sink full. Almost done. I'm not going to make you watch me do all of them. I just wanted you to see the procedure that I use to do my collard greens, which is different than my turnip greens. Because remember, yesterday when I did turnip greens, if you remember, you did not see me cut anything. Turnip greens don't have to be cut up. But collard greens should be cut, because that will give you a more tender green than, you know, than just cooking the whole leaf. I do know people that cook the entire leaf whole, but in my family, they did not teach us that. So it's all in what you like to do. It's a preference. Like I said earlier, if you like doing it the way you do it, then you do that. But what I am doing is showing you how Miss Betty do hers. And it also, it takes my greens less time to cook. Let's put it like that. It probably take less time to cook too, because they're already cut in small bite sizes. You don't have to worry about cutting them up on your plate because you don't have no great big old leaf. I'm not trying to make no collard green egg rolls or nothing like that. I guess if I was going to do collard green egg rolls, I could leave some whole collards and just roll them up with some dressing and some ham and some turkey and call them collard green egg rolls. Look at these. Look at that. You see those? Those are all cut up. I'm nearing the end of this. And then I will start washing them, of course, again. Make sure that your sink is impeccably clean before you start doing your greens, okay? You don't want to wash your greens in a dirty sink because we have to eat those. Even though we're going to bring them to a certain temperature on the stove, and we do know that heat kills anything. But just the fact of knowing that the germ is there freaks me out. Okay? Look at these. These are nice. I'm going to give you a little closer look in a minute. Remember, I'm starting with whole leaves that I separated from the stalk. I am taking them and I'm folding them just like this. Fold them, kind of hold them kind of tight. And then begin to cut them. Just like that. Yes, you should cut your collard greens up. I'm not going to just say, no, you can leave them whole. No, you cut them up. Or tear them up. Like my friend Sonia, my little cousin Sonia. She said, I don't do all that, said Betty. She said, I just tear mine. Okay, well, you can tear them. Just make sure that you rip them into small pieces, okay? But that's going to take you a long time to rip each green separate. Those are looking pretty good. So I'm not looking at the camera a lot because this is not about looking at me. This is about you watching my technique. Okay? There we go. Whenever I cook collard greens, the next thing I do is make some hot water cornbread because ain't nothing like greens and hot water cornbread. So, and I'll probably show you that later because I plan on having some of these for dinner today. So we'll probably fry a few pieces of hot water cornbread just for the sake of it. I have people call me all the time and say, can you make me hot water cornbread? Sure can. Not a problem. I'm a soul food cook, so therefore I can pretty much cook anything soul food that I like. I normally don't cook nothing that I don't like because who's gonna eat it? But if you ask me to cook it for you, I will. All right, so now I'm at the bottom. I can start running my water now because I'm going to start washing these greens pretty soon. And remember again that you have to wash them with cold water. I know the water is cold, and if you want to wear gloves, you could probably wear gloves. I don't wear gloves when I cook. So you wash your greens in cold water, and the reason being is that it keeps your greens nice and crisp. I never forget when I didn't know better, and I was going to wash my greens, and I was putting them in some kind of warm water. And the lady said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm washing the greens." She said, "Oh, baby, no. Don't wash those greens in warm water. Always make sure that the water is cold." I said, "But it's cold. It's cold in my hand." She said, "Well, that's what you have to do to make sure." Now, see, these greens are ready. I'm going to see if I can move my camera over just a tad bit without popping off, okay? I don't have as many greens as I did on yesterday because I only had 4 bunches of collards. All right. Again, you want to see what they look like? When you cut them up, they just look like a bunch of chopped greens. And I'm washing them as I go. Remember, I wash my greens 3 to 4 times or 4 to 5 times, whatever it takes to make sure that they're not still dirty. How do I know when they're clean? Because my water will become crisp and it won't look as murky as it's going to look after this first wash. So, that's wash number 1, and I am preparing to do wash number 2. It's so much easier when you don't have as many greens as I did on yesterday. Okay. All right. So wash number 2. Remember, I sing a little song while I wash my greens. What do I say? This is the way we wash our greens, wash our greens, wash our greens. This is the way we wash our greens until they're very clean. All right. I'm over here doing my second wash. I don't know if you can see that water going out, but it's like really, really, really murky. And I want my water to be clear. All right. Rinse this sink out. Make sure that there's no dirt at the bottom of the sink. All right. And now we are ready to begin our third wash. Wash number 2. Just go up and down. Take your hands like, you remember when they used to have a washboard and they wash the clothes by hand? That's how you do your greens. If you want to take your greens and do each leaf separate, you can do that. If that makes you feel comfortable, then you do whatever floats your boat, okay? All right, this is wash number 3. All right. Now this water is a little more clearer. I don't feel any grit at the bottom because that's what I'm making sure of. As long as I feel grit, then I know that they're still dirty. So let's go ahead and we let the water out. Add clean water because this is now wash number 3. Okay, let's let that water out. And while it's going out and I'm starting that, look how clean that water is. It's just, my water now is just as clear as the water that is going into the sink. Okay? All right. Nice clear water. I don't know, do you like collards or do you like turnips? It doesn't matter to me. I can eat them both, but collards are my favorite. But when I get tired of collards, then I do kind of like to do turnip greens. Sometimes I try to alternate. My mother cooks collard greens and turnip greens, one or the other, every single Saturday. So I think this is how I spend my time with my mom. It's when I do greens. All right. This is wash number 3. I don't have that many in here today, so it's not taking me as long. I do want to show you my water when I take these out this time. For some reason, the water is still kind of green because the greens are really green this season, if that makes sense. They're really greening. The greens are greening. Okay. I love doing the videos and I love talking to you as I go. You know, getting you to understand Trinity. I know my friend Trinity in Ohio is going to do collard greens, and Trinity, I hope that Miss Betty is teaching you some things that will be helpful as you start your soul food journey. I know you like cooking greens and that your mom liked them also. All right. So now, I've washed my greens 4 times. And now, I'm going to take them out. They are ready for the pot. Make sure that your meat is cooked ahead of time so that when you start, oh yeah, wait till you see this water. Wait till you see this water. And then you'll know what I mean when I say you'll know your greens are clean. Okay? I'm going to pick my camera up and I'm going to bring it a little bit closer. Let me dry my hands. Because if I don't, my phone will probably pop off and I don't want to lose this video. Okay? Alright, hold on everybody. This is my bag for scraps because that's what I put all my little stems in. Keeping everything clean as I go and dry. Alright, I want to show you my water. Alright. Hold on while I flip the camera. Alright, see that water? See how nice and clear that is? That's how you know that your greens are clean. Alright, I am to cook my collards, and if you remember yesterday, we start them in a pot. This pot is smaller because it's only 4 bunches. And I season my collard greens exactly like I do my turnip greens because they taste the same. Put them in the pot. I like this pot. It's my cast iron pot. I like my friend Janella. She calls it a workhorse. She's right because these pots get the job done. So if you don't have a cast iron pot, you know, go out and buy some. They got them in such pretty colors. If you look up on the refrigerator, I have some up there because I had to order me a stand because I'm starting to accumulate my pots. And I love these. They're kind of heavy. I had to stop using them for a while when I was sick, but I'm back at it now. So today, if you just popped in, I'm doing collard greens the exact way that I get turnips. I only have 4 bunches, so they're easily going to fit in this pot. So if you're looking, Miss Tracy, you know, Miss Betty, are those gonna fit? Yes, they're gonna fit, and they're gonna cook down to about here, okay? Let's get them all over there. So go ahead and just watch those cook for a second while I get the rest off the sink. All right. And again, you should always take your spoon. I always use wooden spoons. So if you don't have a nice set of wood spoons, go and pick you up some. They're really cheap. They're really cheap and they're nice to cook with. So we got these going. Get the rest in here. And that is 4 bunches, you guys. 4 bunches is not a lot. Sometimes I feel like I can eat 2 bunches by myself. Yes, indeed. All right, so when my greens start to go down, then we will season them. Let me turn my fire up to a medium heat. I want it to be at a medium heat. I want them to start cooking before I start to season them, okay? I think I got everything out but my oil. The question on yesterday was, what do the oil do? Well, the oil aids in cooking your greens and making them tender. It also helps to enhance the flavor. I don't know if I made that up or if somebody told me. Also remember that I use green seasoning that I buy at Woodman's. I can also find it at the dollar store. Not so much the Dollar Tree, but somewhere like Dollar General. It only costs $1. Well, it used to be $1, now it's $1.25. I put those in my greens. I cooked. That means that I do not use any measuring utensils. I just began to add my seasonings. I know when it is enough. And I always grab the one that's not open because I'm always afraid that I'm going to run out. So I always buy multiple bottles. I got a nice little spice cabinet up here. It's got everything in it. So anyway, here's my green seasoning. I'll take it off and just dump some in. That's my green seasoning. It's not really salty. I actually don't know what to do, but I can tell when I don't use it. My seasoning salt, sprinkle, sprinkle, sprinkle. I always tell everybody when I say sprinkle, 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 sprinkle means 1, 2, 3. So if I say sprinkle, 1 sprinkle. If I say sprinkle, sprinkle, 2 sprinkles. If I say sprinkle, 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 that means that you're going to probably sprinkle 3 times. So this is my all-purpose season, sprinkle, sprinkle, sprinkle. That's how I know it's enough. And now these greens are ready to roll. They're ready to roll. With this pot of greens, I would probably do like a 1/3 cup of oil. So that's about a 1/3. I have my pepper. I make my own pepper sauce. I buy it at the grocery store. I put it in a jar and I mix it with vinegar and water. So I'm going to cut 1 pot up in. Don't want my greens to be too hot. I want them to be able to be, I want you to be able to eat them, okay? So, there you go. This is a 5-quart Dutch oven. So you can tell that if you have a 5-quart pot, then 4 bunches of collard greens will easily fit into that. Let's let them go ahead and start doing their thing. I'll come back and show you what they look like when they are bubbling, all right? This is Miss Betty, and I have been cooking on Farm Ridge, and this is my pot of collard greens. This is a 5-quart Dutch oven, and I have 4 bunches of collards in here. Fits perfectly by the time that they go down. They are cooking very nicely. I have them with the ham hock that I have already pre-cooked, and that I have taken off the bone. And my greens are looking really good. And they're ready to go. They'll be ready to eat in about 45 minutes. I'll make me some hot water cornbread. And we will have some ham hock and collard greens for dinner. This is Miss Betty, and I have been cooking on Farm Ridge. It is my pleasure to show you how I cook. I am not telling you how to cook, but I am showing you some of my techniques. And if you have any questions, feel free to tell me in the comment section. Ask me a question and I will answer to the best of my ability. Remember that cooking is a preference, so you cook the way that you like to cook and I cook the way that I like to cook. Now I do, share a lot of my food with people, so If you just don't want to cook your collard greens and you want a 5-quart pot of collard greens just like this, you hit me up and I just might cook them for you for a small fee. This is Miss Betty. Enjoy your Wednesday. I'm sorry, this is Thursday. Oh my God, these weeks are going so fast. This is Miss Betty. So you enjoy the rest of your Thursday here in wherever city you are in. I'm on Fawn Ridge in Rockford. Bye bye.